Hi, this is Daniel from Ultimate Guitar Academy, and I'm going to teach you some advanced uses for the circle of fifths. If you're watching this video, you should really already know how to make the circle of fifths and how to use the circle of fifths. You should also have experience writing out all major scales using the circle of fifths. So here is a copy of our completed circle of fifths. Let's start by having a look at our sharps. If we write out every key that has sharps and then separately write out what those sharps are, we should see a pattern. The C major scale has 0 sharps, G has 1, which is F sharp, D has 2, which is F sharp and C sharp, A has 3, which is F, C, G, E has 4, which is F, C, G, D, B has 5, F, C, G, D, A, and F sharp has 6, F, C, G, D, A, E. You should notice here that our sharps are cumulative. What that means is that we are adding and keeping them as we go along. If we have a closer look at the final sharp in each of these scales, we should notice that it is the 7th note of the scale. So in the key of G, our newest sharp is also our only sharp, which is F sharp, and that is the 7th note in the scale. In the key of D, our newest sharp is C sharp, which is the 7th note of the scale. In the key of A, our newest sharp is G sharp, which is the 7th note of the scale. In the key of E, our newest sharp is D sharp, which again is the 7th note of the scale. In the key of B, our newest note is A sharp, which is the 7th note of the scale. And in the key of F sharp, our newest sharp is E sharp, which again is the 7th note of the scale. So when using this pattern, the new sharp, which is the last sharp in our sequence, is always the 7th of the scale. So here's a great idea. If we just memorize the sharps in order and then stop on the 7th, we will always be able to find our scale. Here's an example. Our pattern of sharps are F, C, G, D, A, E, all sharp. If we look at the E major scale, we simply recite this pattern, F, C, G, D, but stop here at D because D is our 7th. So if we then put our sharps in the scale, F, C, G, D, we're left with our E major scale. Let's do the same thing with the key of B. So we recite the sharps stopping at the 7th, F sharp, C sharp, G sharp, D sharp, A sharp. There's our 7th. So we then put our sharps in our scale, F, C, G, D, A. And there's our B major scale. Now let's have a look at the flats where a very similar pattern occurs. If we write out all of our flat scales, and then if we also write out what the flats are in our scale, we should see that we again have an accumulative pattern occurring. Remember what this means is each time we add a sharp, we keep it before adding more in the next scale. Eventually, when we get down to the G flat scale, we now have 6 flats. So the key of F has a B flat. That's our newest and only flat. The key of B flat adds an E flat to the pattern. The key of E flat adds an A flat. The key of A flat adds a D flat. The key of D flat adds a G flat. And the key of G flat adds a C flat. If we go back up to the F major scale, B flat is our newest and only flat, and it happens to be the 4th note of the scale. In the key of B flat, our newest note is E flat, which again happens to be the 4th note of the scale. In the key of E flat, our newest flat is A flat, which is the 4th note of the scale. The same pattern will occur here at A flat, where our newest is D flat, which is the 4th. In the key of D flat, our newest flat note is G flat, which again is the 4th, and then down in G flat, our newest and final flat is once again the 4th. So the new flat is always the 4th. So once again, we can just memorize the flats in order, but here we stop on the 4th. Here's an example. Our pattern of flats are B, E, A, D, G, C, all flat. If we figure out a scale, like the A flat major scale, we simply count through these notes, stopping when we get to the 4th of the scale. So B flat, E flat, A flat, D flat. D happens to be our 4th, So if we then put the flats in the scale, B flat, E flat, A flat, and D flat, making sure we get both A flats, the first and the last, we're left with the A flat major scale. Here's another example. Let's look at the G flat major scale. So we count through our pattern: B, E, A, D, G, C. C flat is our fourth. So we put these flats into the scale: B flat, E flat, A flat, D flat, G flat, making sure we get both the first and the last, and then C flat. And we're left with the G flat major scale. We also have some symmetry with our circle of fifths. If we have a look at a note, almost entirely opposite to that note, we have a sharpened version of it. So here we have an F, opposite to that we have F sharp. Then we have a B flat, opposite to that we have a B natural. Then we have an E flat, opposite to that we have E. A flat, there's an A. D flat, here's a D. Opposite to G is a G flat. Opposite to C is a C flat, which just so happens to be a B. And you could even keep going with this, but I think you get the point. You can also use the triangle shape to help you find the tonic, third, and the fifth for all of the chords here within the circle. For example, we have a C, E, and then a G. That's our C major chord. If we move this triangle around, we still get the tonic, third, and the fifth. And we can continue moving it, still getting our tonic, third, and the fifth every single time. The same thing happens when working with our flats. So remember, for our sharps, just memorize the pattern of sharps in order and stop on the seventh when figuring out a key. The pattern of sharps are F, C, G, D, A, E, all sharp. Also, just memorize the flats in order and then stop on the fourth. The flats are B, E, A, D, G, C, all flat. You can even use these patterns to help you draw up the circle of fifths.